Hello, beautiful creatures, and welcome to my channel. I would like to introduce my guest I have here today. He is my best friend, my lover, my teacher, all of that, and my husband. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me. um, I have a couple YouTube videos out there. If anybody of you seen it, I go by the name Jabbar Al Jabbar, the autodidactic polymath. And when I start my videos, I consider myself a philosopher. The entire universe is my university, and these are my philosophical opinions. Back to you, Arania.
Thank you. So, what we're doing here today is kind of sharing with you guys some of the topics that we share in this household. We have a great many topics where magic, science, and the spiritual world meet. So, you want to take the floor?
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
He loves
all
taking the floor.
right. Well, just with things going on currently now, I guess to just give a little scientific perspective on it. Um, for the most part, we're currently in a pandemic. I would say, okay. Scientifically speaking, may not be a popular opinion, but a scientific opinion for the most part, because I base a lot of my stuff on the science that I study. I'm a learning scientist and polymath, so I'm currently learning, and that's what I do. So I like to base my stuff on that type of opinion.
Can you share with us what a polymath is?
Okay. A polymath is just a specific person that poly means many, math is like science. So like a person that's into multiple sciences or multiple studies, not just one thing, a wide spectrum of knowledge and study and interest in things. So I found myself being interested in a lot of things. So that's why I just consider myself a polymath. And the autodidactic is me self-study. I self-study, so autodidactic polymath. With that being said, scientific view, I'll take you back to the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Some of the first forms of life on this planet, Earth, formed like around 3.8 billion years ago. 3.8 billion years ago. Do you know what that life was?
Now, when you say life,
Single cell, I guess you would consider it a molecule or bacteria or virus. Some of the first forms of life on this planet. I just want to leave that thought with you. 3.8 billion years ago. The first forms of life on Earth, okay? So it's safe to say that this planet actually, whether you like the opinion or not, the first forms of life was virus or bacteria. Okay, so now, because you break the evolutionary tree down, you have the archaeas, the bacterias, and the prokaryotes. And we come out of that. We are the eukaryotes. So that's animals. That didn't come till way later. Okay, so this planet actually, they were the first forms of life of living things on this planet. Kind of they had a long time of ruling, and they evolved to eventually, after 3.8 billion years of time, now down to the animal species. Okay, it's a long time have passed, and a lot of evolution, a lot of disaster, a lot of extinction level events,
Right.
wiping of clean of stuff, and then making way for new things to evolve and come.
Evolution. Yep.
So talk about pandemic, okay, but it's only a pandemic
Right.
because we 10,000 years ago, the Homo sapien decided to civilize himself and build cities, mega cities. Okay, so we got away from our foresting and being in sparse populations, and we decided to settle down and build civilization, cities, stop farming and stop hunting. I mean, hunter and gatherer,
Right.
but become civilized. Now we got mega cities with thousands and millions of people. So, let me backtrack a little bit. The viruses and animals have had a symbiotic relationship with each. They help each other out. The viruses live in the animal kingdom and has been living in the animal kingdom for hundreds of millions of years. They help each other, just like we have bacteria on us that help us. So
some of which, might I add, we cannot live happily without. Right.
Yeah. So good bacteria and stuff. You have your bad, but you have your good. And so we forget that we're primates still. We are in the animal kingdom. We are a part of the primate clade. And those viruses and bacteria can get in us and replicate in our cells and our DNA because they are a part of us. We're animals. It's a part of our thing, and I would say that I go back to the pandemic because it's a pandemic because of our creation, how we created civilization. And I'm gonna hurry up and fast track because I want you to get to your point. Outbreaks happen because we have a lot of population. These viruses can jump to each other because it's millions of people all in concentrated areas and stuff. So it becomes a pandemic and a scare and everything. Right. We got to change the way our civilization is run. Right. Meaning, it was running one way. This because of viruses and stuff. And believe me, they've been here for billions of years and they're going to be here for billions of years. It's never going to stop. It's a part of the earth. It's a part of the planet. It's a part of life. It's a part of evolution, a part of us. So in the future, it's going to be another one. So what this situation says is for us to think about the way we run our civilization. Take a step back and now prepare. We know it's going to be another outbreak. It's going to be something. It's going to mutate. It's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to look for a host. Wants to grow. It's going to be another outbreak. So now let's prepare our civilization going forward to how we can live to avoid it or catch it early and contain it. That's what we do. Don't forget it. Don't get complacent. Use our science to stop the next pandemic. And I'm going to let you take that over from there.
Well, jumping right into that, I think along with science and preparing, having a knowledge and awareness of these things ahead of time helps because it helps us to adapt when these pandemics happen. So where the spiritual world meets is when you have spiritual workers delivering messages and you have astrologers, and you have all these people sharing the message of becoming aware. Because, for example, in astrology, and I revert back to astrology a lot of times because it is, like I always call it, a looking glass. In astrology, most astrologers see things ahead of time, and you ask yourself, what do you do when you see some of these things um, that are inevitable to happen? Well, with this knowledge, you can prepare yourself. You can um, bring yourself to a state of awareness. And by what I mean by that is, seek the knowledge, understand better, understand what it is, about why do we keep going through these cycles, right? So, and it is a cycle because as he mentioned, this has happened before and it's going to continue to happen.
Going into the future, yep.
Exactly. So right now, I think a lot of the problem is when you do not, when you are not at a certain level of awareness and things like this occur, it is kind of hard to. It's like I shared the example of when you have your computer or your laptop, and it is like you have a bunch of uh, storage, and you try to download something, and your computer is like no more space, can't download, it's causing errors, you may even get a virus in it. so
Sorry.
so so it's kind of like that, during this time when you know the spiritual world is trying to help us evolve. It is kind of hard for us to receive that message because we're so full of everything else. We're so full of the mundane. We're so full of, just work, going to work, trying to keep up with the Jones, trying to make our egos happy, So when you are not in a state of awareness, you can't receive that download because it's going to be an error. It's going to be hard for that download to take place. So those of you that are in the awareness, it is just like you have adapted to the change and the flow of things. So that's why it's so important for preparation, both in science and in the spiritual world, because and that's where those two things meet, because I believe you can't have one without the other, and it is us again that has caused that division, just like we have caused so much of the pandemic, so it is time for those things to merge itself so we can have a better understanding of things to come.
Yep.
you know
That's it. You can end. You want to end?
no I mean So, what is your thoughts on the future of the spiritual world in science media?
Yeah. Well, I'll say that because we're gonna end it because I know this video is getting pretty long. But I would say my thoughts on that is that's a beautiful thing, because if you looked at the ancient man, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Mesopotamians, and all different ancient societies, they didn't separate it. They had spiritual awareness mixed with the scientific awareness. They were, I would say, greater than us. We're trying to get back to where they were already. They had a greater awareness,
Right.
and we are now learning that we have to put that back together again.
Right.
These things are showing us that we have to get back to that again. And you talk about singularity and future, coming together of that. That's an example of it right there. So, not to get all bent out of shape, this is really a good thing. In a way, it's gonna cause us to go forward with new things, new ways to work with the current of the earth and better our society, better ourselves, and be able to even adapt and survive even greater things in the future, politically, spiritually, and scientifically, and evolve to a good state, a state that we were once in before in ancient times. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah, so we would just like you guys to take the opportunity in this moment in time and kind of prepare yourself.
Or get back to your
Exactly.
self if you weren't doing that.
Exactly.
Become who you are.
Exactly. Because I think a lot of what's happening now is for us, as I shared in my other video, is for us. Like the universe is trying to.
See, my cat is in the video.
Yeah. Leonard. So the universe is trying to get us to that place. So sometimes we can be a little stubborn. So, we have to get that gentle push. Sometimes a push is a rough push, but...
How you can end this? How you end your videos?
Well, I just ended.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you for taking the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, be with us
Hope
in
all
this
you guys
space.
are well, doing good.
Yeah.
We're going to get through this.
Yes.
We're all going to get through this, and we're going to be better for it.
Exactly. Thank you. Into the shadows.